Okay, so I'm going to talk about intraoperative change in plan in the retinal surgery. So, yeah. So retina has multiple choices for treatment. As we have known, you can do this way, you can do that way, there's the other way. So ultimately, which is the way you choose? And in retinal surgery, you have to keep on making choices. So it's always good to make the right choice, and hopefully you should not have the wrong decision. As Nishi has also said, till the 20th century, retinal detachment was equal to sterile buckle. It's a surgery which has come up right from the 1960s, and people are still doing it and gives excellent results. PVR D1, D2, or D3 was only vitrectomy. But there was a paradigm shift. The advent of small gauge vitrectomy made it that vitrectomy was a procedure of choice, and hence the incidence of shifting from one procedure to the other has dramatically reduced. It was a procedure of choice in pseudophakic patients, in phakic eyes with PVD, in posterior breaks, head cosmesis, and recurrent episodes of redness or infections. So buccal in the modern era is more of an exception and can happen in peripheral breaks in young phakic patients. So what is the indication for intraop conversion to vitrectomy? Well, if you're doing a buccal and at times you see that there are posterior breaks, you're not able to go that much behind. Sometimes there's a vortex vein present over there and you can't go behind. Or you don't want to put a 280 or the 281 buccal because that will cause a lot of indentation. The indentation may go right up to the macula. So in these cases, you can suddenly decide to change the pattern and decide that have a break which go over and do a vitrectomy instead of doing the buccal. Then sometimes there can be a large amount of residual. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes,
Please,
yes.
please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was posterior breaks which may be pre-existing or due to perforation. Sometimes there's a large amount of residual fluid which is present even after drainage. As somebody said, Nitin said before, you can have bleeding from the drainage side. This bleeding may be subretinal or it may result in vitreous hemorrhage. You can have PVR or subretinal gliosis, preventing apposition of break on buccal. In these cases, you can go ahead and do a vitrectomy at the same sitting. However, there's a problem with this. This can involve sometimes medical, legal, and psychological issues. If you have told the patient that I'm going to do a buccal and then do the try and attach the retina, and you go in on the table and do a vitrectomy and come out, I don't know. I mean, because a vitrectomy will predispose the patient to cataract. If you put silicone oil, it may have oil removal. So it may have certain issues which are there, and these need to be well explained to the patient. So I think in every patient in whom you are doing a buccal, you should tell them pre-operatively only that I'm doing a buccal, and in case I need to do, I may go ahead with a vitrectomy at the same sitting also. Now, what about vitrectomy change to buccal? This is very rare because you have already decided pre-operatively I'm going to do a vitrectomy in this patient. However, sometimes if you do a detailed examination under anesthesia and with the pupil fully dilated, if the surgeon feels that the buccal would be a better choice, especially in young phakic patients. Like you're a patient who's a young patient of let's say 3 or 5 years old, and you want to take up the patient under general anesthesia, at that time you can examine him in detail and decide that maybe vitrectomy is not as good, and we may decide to do a buccal in this patient. So that would be one indication of changing back from a vitrectomy to a pure buccal. What about the other thing? That is addition of a buccal to a vitrectomy procedure. Most of us today do a pure vitrectomy procedure and we do not add an encircling band to it or a buccal to it. However, in patients with inferior breaks, if there's peripheral unrelieved retinal contracture, or in young phakic patients, you may need to have a vitreous base support. If you put an encircling band in these patients, then to do a laser photocoagulation 360 degrees is very easy. And this is something which can be done. So addition of a buckle to a vitrectomy procedure can be done in these patients. But at the same time, one must remember that only the soldier knows what happened to the battlefield, on the battlefield. Whatever decision is taken on the table is the right decision, because that was a decision taken under stress, under duress. So whatever tough decisions are ahead cannot be dissected later on in hindsight. Later on, you can't say that, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. Whatever decisions were taken by you at that time are tough decisions and they need to be implemented. And hence, you need to find out what is the right decision and come to a solution. The solution may be solution 1, 2, or 3. You may decide that, okay, fine, in this case, I've started with a buckle, I'm going to do a vitrectomy, or I'm doing a vitrectomy and I think I'm going to put an encircling band around it. So these are various solutions that can happen. And for one brief moment, I'm going to just dwell on this, which is, I think, extremely important to this talk. And that is summary of primary retinal detachment outcome studies, 6 reports. These reports have dramatically changed what we are going to do in the future. These reports have come in 2019, 2020, and 2021. What the report number 2 states that it compared the anatomic and visual outcomes of scleral buckle, pars plana vitrectomy, and pars plana vitrectomy with scleral buckle surgery in phakic patients. And they concluded that in phakic moderately complex rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, scleral buckle and pars plana vitrectomy scleral buckle was superior to PPV in single surgery anatomic success rate. Scleral buckle showed the best visual outcomes compared to other methods. So this study definitely shows that in young phakic patients, the best option is to do a scleral buckle. Then they compared PPV and PPV-SB surgeries in pseudophakic patients. And they realized that patients who are undergoing PPV plus scleral buckle compared to PPV alone had better anatomic outcomes, although the visual outcomes were similar in both methods. Then they compared whether you could give 360-degree retinopexy versus just focal retinopexy. And they concluded that 360-degree laser may be associated with worse anatomic and visual results. Then the fourth one was comparison of non-complex surgeries by using a non-contact system versus a contact system. And the final thing was that anatomic success rates were similar using non-contact and contact surgery. And finally, they compared anatomic and visual outcome between PPV and PPV-SB for inferior retinal breaks. And here they concluded that retinal detachment with inferior retinal breaks had a higher single surgery success rate if treated with PPV with SB compared to PPV alone. So this is a very significant factor. And hence, when we are doing a pars plana vitrectomy and you find that there are inferior breaks, one should not hesitate to put a buckle, to put an encircling band. One can always put an encircling band also because it will give rise to a higher success rate. Thank you.